Thank you and welcome to our meeting. It's great to see you all here. We really appreciate you coming to this event. I'm Dick Cornet. I'm a member of the Anca Board of Directors, and I'm the chair of the group that organizes these kind of seminars. It's called the Community Education Working Group. I just want to take a minute for each of you, if you don't know who's at your table, take a minute and introduce yourselves to the person next to you, just a couple minutes, and maybe tell them why you come tonight. And then we'll start the program. I'm only going to give you a couple minutes, but introduce yourself if you're going to be working at the table. I'm going to go through a little spiel here. It talks about Anca and what we're all about. Anca is a residents nonprofit 501c3 organization. We were founded by Linda Hamilton in 2022. She's our executive director. Our mission is to work collaboratively to build climate resilient communities neighborhood by neighborhood. Our work is informed by this vision of climate resilient communities. It has 10 components to that vision, as you can see from these green boxes. And the 3 goals that underline the vision, which are reducing carbon emissions, preparation for more severe climate impacts, and enduring environmental justice in all we do. Most of these components in these boxes are addressed in the Climate Action Plan, which you're going to be introduced to tonight. We're excited about the plan because it supports our vision of a climate resilient community that is over here. So what is this series all about? This is the first of our 2024 fall series, which has been titled Redlands Climate Action Plan, a pathway to a more resilient community. Tonight is the first of 3 programs that we're going to have. Programs that are focused on an overview of the city's climate action plan. That's what we're talking about tonight. In October, we will be focusing on the issue of transportation and discussing options to reduce emissions from transportation, which transportation produces by far the most GHG emissions in the city. And in November, we'll discuss solid waste reduction, particularly relevant before the holidays. Throughout this series, we're going to ask you for your input on what would make the strategies work. These strategies are not just things that the city staff will do for us. These strategies must be strong, have strong support and involvement from all of you to be successful. Our program tonight is co-sponsored by the Anca and the City of Redlands. I want to note that we have the mayor here tonight in the audience, Mayor Salcido. And the financial support by Letha H. Hurd and Sylvester James. So who's going to talk to us tonight? Our speakers tonight are Dr. Julia Lenhart and Caitlin Haberlin. Dr. Lenhart will present the current state of greenhouse gas emissions, their impact, and the urgency to take immediate action to reduce emissions. She will also discuss the cost of doing nothing. Dr. Lenhart's PhD from UC Irvine is in Earth System Science, the study of how the atmosphere, hydrosphere, biosphere, and lithosphere interact with each other, and how human activities and technology influence. Perfect speaker to talk about the status of climate now. She's specializes in ecosystem modeling and is especially interested in sustainable agricultural systems. Previously, she worked for Esri here in town as a GIS expert. She currently is director of the geospatial technology at the University of Redlands. Our second speaker is Caitlin Haberlin, who will be providing an overview of the city's climate action plan, which was adopted in July. She is the city sustainability coordinator responsible for guiding the implementation of the plan. She previously worked for the Solid Waste Division of Santa Barbara County Public Works. She is passionate about trash and recycling and believes that reducing, reusing, and recycling are fundamentals of an environmentally conscious life. Caitlin has a degree in environmental studies and archaeology at the UC Santa Barbara. We'll have questions and answers after both presentations. We'll also have time after that for some table talk. That's why we wanted to get you to know your table mates. And we'll be asking you a question, and we'll ask you to respond to that question. So without further ado, Julia.
Hi everybody, can you hear me okay? Okay. So yeah, thank you for that introduction. I'm going to talk about why we need to reduce emissions, which I think everyone in this room is probably pretty committed to at this point if you're here tonight, but just as a refresher, with greenhouse gases in their sort of natural pre-industrial state, that's how we are alive on this planet today. We like greenhouse gases in their sort of natural state. They protect, they keep the earth sort of warm, so we get our energy from the sun. It re-emits energy in the form of heat, essentially, and then greenhouse gases kind of keeps it warm enough so that we can sustain life. Without greenhouse gases, we would be covered in ice. The problem is that with industrial greenhouse gas emissions, the way that they are, we're trapping too much heat, and the planet is warming faster than we or other species can adapt to. This is a graph of annual carbon dioxide emissions over time, and we're especially interested in carbon dioxide because there's just a lot more of it than the other greenhouse gases, and it stays in the atmosphere longer. So it's a more concerning gas that we look at. This shows that our global greenhouse gas emissions have increased astronomically since 1950. In the US, emissions are actually decreasing a little bit, which is amazing, and it's mostly due to fuel switching, renewable energy, and also the increased efficiency of appliances. So this is great. Unfortunately, it's not decreasing fast enough to meet a lot of the national goals that we have set for ourselves in the past. And globally, emissions continue to increase. And this results in year after year of record-breaking heat. So in 2023, we had the greatest warming we'd ever seen until 2024. And we'll see what 2025 has in store. From what I've seen so far, we're on the same trajectory. So what this chart shows is basically that we have a few different options for how we can move into the future with regards to emissions. This is from the International Panel on Climate Change's most recent assessment. That is a group of hundreds of scientists working in collaboration to do this kind of important research and communication. And in the blue line on the bottom, that's what we need to do to our emissions to limit warming to only 1.5 degrees Celsius. In the green is how we need to change our emissions to hit only 2 degrees Celsius. So essentially, we need to do immediate reductions to nothing in order to limit in those, maybe not to nothing, but we need to do immediate, very drastic reductions in emissions to meet those goals. And unfortunately, the policies that are currently in place globally are projected to result in 2.7 degrees Celsius warming by 2100 above pre-industrial levels, which might not seem that much. We know here, I mean, granted, the difference between 102 and 100 actually does feel like a lot for me, but it's not that, the reason why this is important is because the way that the world will warm up is not everywhere will increase the same amount. Some places will increase by 4 degrees or 5 degrees per year, whereas other places will be maybe less than a degree. And weather is the way that our planet moves energy around. So a lot of the ocean currents that we have and like jet streams and these big giant wind movements exist because we get more energy at the equator and less at the poles. And the Earth is just trying to make it all balance out. And that's where a lot of our really large weather patterns come from. So when we change the way temperature and therefore energy is distributed on the planet, we are changing weather patterns, this is sort of what we see when we're looking at these weather maps. We see these high pressure and low pressure areas which drive storms and periods of drought and things like that. So this is all driven by just the Earth trying to make the energy move around a little bit. And you may have noticed this summer, I don't know, raise your hand if you thought this summer wasn't that bad, right? It was a miracle. And it's because we have this typical high pressure zone that sits on top of us in the summer moved a little bit. It wasn't sitting right on top of us. It was sitting on top of the Midwest, which is why they were completely decimated with heat over the summer. And similar, New England suffered a lot this summer. So even though we benefited a tiny bit from climate change this summer, those patterns are going to change a lot, and it's difficult to predict exactly how it will affect us. And the fact is that we cannot stop the climate crisis from happening. It's happening, and every increment of global warming will multiply the hazards that we are exposed to. So that means that every little thing that we do matters, because every little thing that we don't do will multiply the hazards that we're exposed to. Additionally, we're struggling with the Earth's ability to keep us all here, right? Our access to fresh water and fresh air and food. This is considered the carrying capacity of the Earth. And a lot of scientists believe that we're sort of here. We're like at the pinnacle of receiving these wonderful gifts from the Earth. And that, in fact, over time, we're reducing the Earth's ability to do that, mostly because of our consumption patterns, right? So the way that we're all consuming products globally would require, if we were to continue on this way, we would be 1 3/4 Earths, right? And we just have one. And if everyone lived like Americans, we would be 5 Earths. So we have a responsibility, more so than many other countries and nations and regions, to do our part. So what does this mean for Redlands? The estimates right now from the most recent climate models are that we're just going to be experiencing more extremely hot days. We're, I think, around 20 days over 102 right now on average, and that will be around 40 to 50 if we keep policy the way that it is, right? Which means higher cost of electricity, and it means public health issues. We have worse air pollution when there's higher heat. So that's going to result in more public health issues. It also means more frequent droughts, which increases the cost of water and more watering restrictions, and also higher food prices. California is like the mecca of agriculture in this country. We are the fruit and vegetable basket for the entire country. And we produce 75% of the world's almonds, which are one of the thirstiest crops out there. So prices for foods like that are going to increase. And we expect more frequent wildfire. And if you live sort of in Redlands proper, that might not mean your house is at risk of catching on fire, but it means we will be exposed to a lot more wildfire smoke. Okay, so I get this question a lot. My mother-in-law asked me this a few weeks ago. Isn't it just too late then? Is it too late to do anything meaningful? And the truth is, it might be. It might be a little too late. There is debate on this within the scientific community, but from my perspective, even if it is too late, we still need to do something about it. And I like these quotes from Dr. Guy McPherson, is a climate scientist, and he says, if we're going to be the last of our species, let us be the best of our species. Like, let us do everything that we can to care for each other during what we're going to face and for the planet. And an activist out of Detroit says, how do we fall gracefully? If I have a child on my chest, how do I fall in such a way that I protect that child? And that is especially, that hits me because I have two very young, wonderful, amazing, exhausting, hilarious children, and I want to protect their future on this planet. And essentially, it's never too late to do the next right thing, right? And I think all of us are in this room because we believe in doing that. So does anything we do here in Redlands actually make a difference? Of course it does, right? And there are so many side benefits of improving our carbon emissions. And so the benefits of immediate action: one, we're contributing to solving a global problem. But we're also, there are ways that we can improve local climate. There are multiple cities in Europe that have reduced their average annual temperature by multiple degrees by using some of the strategies that are listed in the Climate Action Plan. It also, a lot of reducing emissions also means reducing the pollutants that come from those same emissions, right? So we would improve air quality, and we all know that this is one of the toughest places in the country to live when it comes to air quality. We would improve transportation access for those who don't have cars, right? If we're talking about improving public transportation, it builds resilience and it strengthens our communities. So these are all the incredible side effects and benefits of actually acting immediately on these climate issues. I just wanted to end by recommending this book. This is my new fave that I love to tell people. It's very easy to read, and for someone like me who struggles to figure out how to continue to hope, it's a very helpful book for that. So take a look and email me with any questions, and thank you all for your attention.
Okay, now we will have Caitlin come. Tell us about the plan.
Hi everyone, can you hear me okay? Okay, awesome. I love seeing some familiar faces in the crowd, but for those who don't know me, my name is Caitlin Haverland. I work for the City of Redlands. I'm in the Development Services Department, and I am your new Sustainability Coordinator. I'm really honored to be in this position. Community service is just, I think, super, super important, so I'm really lucky that I get to serve this community of Redlands in the Inland Empire where I grew up. So as you all know, I'm here to talk about the Climate Action Plan. The Climate Action Plan is a huge document that was passed by our City Council on July 1, 2025. The Climate Action Plan addresses many different aspects of how we can help defeat this crisis that we're in that Julia just talked about. I wanted to start by talking a little bit about our climate. Julia did mention this a little bit, and this is not all new information to this group. But as you all know, our climate is hot and dry summers, mild winters, wildfire risks, high air pollution levels, drought, local biodiversity loss, and impacts to utilities. I mean, all of us have suffered some power outages, things like that may end up being more common. We have many heat islands in Redlands. This is an example of some spaces in the city of Redlands that are hotter than others. As you can see, that reddish area is the downtown area. So the downtown area is considered an urban heat island. I do want to praise this though, that urban heat islands always aren't the first thing, because we want to keep our people living and active in these heat islands so those heat islands don't spread and we become a big giant heat island on the earth. And so, and also when people have a lot of urban, when people are living more densely, they're more prone to use public transportation, their walking places, their biking places, their necessities are closer to them, and communities build, and that's another part of the Climate Action Plan that I'll talk about later. As Julia mentioned, one of the biggest things that we're facing in the Inland Empire is our air quality. Our air quality is ranked 7 as the worst for 24-hour particle pollution, and ranked 5 worst for annual particle pollution. So this is the whole Inland Empire region. And the air quality, just as Julia mentioned, is really important because it's kind of why we're here today. This is where all those greenhouse gases are. That's what we're trying to clean up through the Climate Action Plan. And so I just wanted to point out something kind of funny, is this old ad. It says at last a hairspray that you can use. Does anyone know what was in these hairsprays that changed recently that was creating a lot of greenhouse gases? Yeah, so chlorofluorocarbons, that's another chemical that was in these hairsprays that allowed the hairspray to aerosolize, and that was causing greenhouse gases to enter the atmosphere and kind of decrease the ozone, which is what Julia mentioned, we need to protect ourselves and live on the planet. This ad is a little bit funny to me because it says, at last a hairspray you can use every day, and soon they'll find out that they can't use that every day. And it's very bad to use that every day. I also wanted to mention that why my job is so important is because high heat is deadly. So high heat can cause mortality, heart attacks and strokes, respiratory disease, preterm labor and delivery, violence and gunshots and stabbing wounds. It's been linked to adverse mental health and decreased learning and test-taking scores in schools. It's a huge public health issue that is the city's responsibility to work towards a solution for it. This is the reality of climate change, is that the health impacts that we all face. This isn't just for sensitive groups, this is something that can happen to you or me. And another local, that was just a photo taken recently, 102 at that temperature reader downtown. I also wanted to share some recent headlines that made the news in Redlands. So we can see that it's really, really impacting us. So the CAL FIRE maps show increased wildfire risk, smoke from the line fire impacted air quality, Redlands faced hazardous air quality from the line fire, heat waves, needing to have cooling centers. So yeah, this is a very real impact for Redlands. And I like this one too. CIF places new guidelines on student athletes practicing in the heat. So these organizations are also recognizing the adverse effects of heat illness. So on to the CAP and what we're going to be doing about it. The city had created a climate action plan in 2017 that some of you might remember, and it went alongside the general plan. This set GHG reduction goals for 2030 and 2035, and in 2023, the city had set out to update the plan in the greenhouse gas inventory, as well as make clear and better defined goals for how the city will take action. This document is called the Climate Action Plan 2050, and we will now refer to it as the CAP. The CAP also accounts for all new state regulations and goals aimed at slowing climate change. Some of these regulations include SB 1383, Senate Bill 1383, which is the Organics Waste Recycling Law, which some people here might be familiar with, and it also addresses some of the electric vehicle changes that we're expecting in California. In order to develop the CAP, the city went through multiple steps. Like I said, we updated our greenhouse gas inventory, so that's a count of how much greenhouse gases we're truly emitting in the city. Conducted community outreach, which some of you all here were involved with, and we very much thank you all. We reviewed climate action strategies and then compiled plans that use those strategies to suit Redlands. Then talking about that inventory, so as Dick had mentioned in the introduction, the transportation sector is where most of our emissions are coming from. This is a quick overview of the city's current inventory. Electricity and natural gas have the second and third highest greenhouse gas emission generation, and that comes from the built environment. So that's like our lights, our water usage, it comes from like air conditioning and air conditioning and other things that we use just in our daily lives when we use the built environment. Transportation and residential commercial energy consumption are identified as the two most critical contributors to greenhouse gases in the entire San Bernardino and Riverside counties. So this isn't just a problem that's unique to Redlands, this is all of the Inland Empire. The wastewater, solid waste, and potable water sectors have the smallest greenhouse gas emissions contribution. However, reducing emissions from these areas is still critical. These sectors also have the most opportunity to build community programming and get residents involved in climate action, which is a crucial step in addressing climate change. So those sectors have a lot of opportunities for community programs and can help people feel empowered to do something about climate change. To implement the CAP, we will be using the CAP as a roadmap, and the city will begin implementing sustainability projects throughout Redlands and climate actions will focus on 6 categories and will be initiated between now and 2050. These categories are transportation, the built environment, solid waste, wastewater, potable water, and carbon sequestration. These tasks are not all on the same timeline. It's important to remember that this is a 25-year plan. These tasks will be completed dependent on resources and throughout the appropriate channels. However, the city is well aware of the urgency of the warming climate and the severity of climate change in our region. I'm going to go through each of these sections. So first, I just want to talk about transportation. The transportation sector is the highest greenhouse gas emitter. We all have discussed that. The issue is not unique to Redlands. I just want to make that clear that this isn't something that Redlands is doing wrong, that why we have the most greenhouse gas reduction, most greenhouse gases emitted from the transportation sector. The transportation sector has the highest greenhouse gas emissions throughout the whole United States. So there's nothing that we're doing specifically wrong that makes that the highest greenhouse gas emitter. To implement the plan for transportation, our city's goals include supporting the transition to EVs for residents and businesses, considering infrastructure changes to limit vehicle idling, and so that would include things like roundabouts, so people don't have to stop and start their vehicles, and working on community and public transportation programs with Anca. And I just wanted to do a shout out for the next speaker series in October, which will be covering some transportation initiatives. And I also just wanted to shout out the city because our EV permitting process is currently listed as an example on the California Business and Economic Development page on best practices for permitting EV charging stations. So that's something that we're already doing ahead of the game. Next up, for the built environment, as I mentioned earlier, this includes structures and other infrastructures that also emit greenhouse gases: heating and cooling, energy use, water use, and natural gas. So we can change greenhouse gas emissions from the built environment through infrastructure updates and behavior changes. The image is a diagram of a heat pump. Heat pumps use ambient temperatures and temperature gradients to heat and cool spaces. Since heating and cooling structures are extremely energy intensive, using heat pumps and technology is one of the best ways that we can lower greenhouse gas emissions in the built environment. It's a really cool technology, and there's certain emission incentives and rebates that folks can get for installing heat pumps. Some of the things that the city is doing to support greenhouse gas reduction in the built environment is supporting policies to shape behaviors, educating the public on cost-effective energy efficiency upgrades. So a lot of the energy efficiency upgrades that you can make at your home can also save you money because you're using less of what you're paying for in utilities. And then also upgrade the city infrastructure and equipment. We want to lead by example. We want to make sure that the city is making these changes and all of our equipment, all of our infrastructure is also up to date. We were the first city in the Inland Empire to start the SoCal REMS municipal water heater upgrade, and so some of those programs should be happening pretty soon. Next up is solid waste sector. As Dick mentioned, my favorite thing in the world is trash and recycling. And so I've been really excited to talk about this one. I don't need my notes for these slides. Everyone makes trash, so we need everyone's help to reduce waste. No one is clean with their trash. No one makes exactly zero waste. Zero waste isn't a perfect thing, and so we all need to focus on reducing waste as much as we can. Greenhouse gas reductions are kind of unique in how they generate greenhouse gases. I mean, solid waste is kind of unique how it generates greenhouse gases because we don't really see that. Like sometimes you can be driving on the freeway and see smog coming out of an exhaust pipe, but we don't see that coming out of the landfill. So what happens is when organic materials like food scraps, yard waste, anything that can break down in nature starts breaking down in a landfill, it creates methane because landfills are anaerobic environments, so there's no oxygen in a landfill. That decomposition process generates methane, which is 84 times more potent than carbon dioxide. And so by keeping organics out of the trash and composting them with oxygen, it helps that decomposition cycle create only carbon dioxide, which is something that our bodies and plants need. And some organizations throughout California are also using organic waste to recycle it into green products. So by generating power or using it as biofuel. In the city of Redlands, our plan is to achieve a diversion rate of 75%, that is the statewide diversion rate. Promote edible food recovery, so when restaurants and commercial businesses have surplus food, they are donating it instead of throwing it away. Expand education on resource recovery and circular economies, which is something that we're doing right now. Use policy changes as a tool to reduce waste, and work with community organizations on single-use plastic programs, which is something that I'm looking forward to working with Anca on. With all of these goals, we need the public's help. Trash is something that everyone is involved with, so we're hoping to expand our education and all of our outreach regarding trash and help make sure everyone's doing what they can and learning the most about trash and what to do and how to handle it in Redlands. One of the most important things I tell people about trash is that it's just important to learn. If you have a question about what goes where, what you should do with something that you don't know where it goes, it's just to call your solid waste hauler, call the hazardous waste facilities, and just learn, because you never want a wish cycle, which means throwing something away where you don't really know what bin it goes into, you just hope. Here's some examples of current outreach that is out. You might have received this in your utility bill. Next, just to talk about wastewater and potable water. This sector has the least amount of greenhouse gas reduction potential within it. However, it's still really important and crucial. We all live in California. We're all a drought-prone area. And so water conservation does more than just prevent greenhouse gas emissions. The Climate Action Plan aims to expand current water conservation programs, promote drought-tolerant landscaping, increase enforcement of water use restrictions, and increase efficiency of plant operations, like the wastewater treatment plant and all of our drinking water infrastructure. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone here knew about the city's awesome incentive programs. This is an example of some of the incentives that we offer. So smart irrigation controllers, high efficiency sprinklers, drought tolerant landscaping. These are all programs that you can all do to potentially receive some money back on your bill. And as it comes to drought tolerant landscaping, I just wanted to throw in here that it's important to remember that trees are also a part of a drought tolerant landscape. Some people avoid trees in their drought-tolerant landscaping because of their water usage. Trees really don't need as much water as you think, and they provide shade, which prevents evaporation of your of water. So trees are a great aspect of drought-tolerant landscaping, which brings us to carbon sequestration, which is a fancy word for taking carbon out of the air, and plants do this. So we want as many trees as possible. Planting trees and other plants clean the air, cool the earth, and provide shade and offer habitat for local wildlife. All things that we need to rely on. The Climate Action Plan sets a goal of 880 new street trees by 2030 while prioritizing underserved communities. This category also supports the use of compost in city projects and community gardens to further promote carbon sequestration. This is a map from CAL FIRE. This map shows our current tree canopy. As you can see, the south side of Redlands, that's the 10 freeway right in the middle of the map there. The south side of Redlands is a little bit denser than the north side, and we've got to change that. So the north side of Redlands, with fewer trees, creates hotter environments, creates drier environments, and makes it harder for people to walk on the street, can make it harder for people to wait at bus stops. Trees play a really, really, really important role in all of our lives, and sometimes we don't recognize that. But as you can see, we have a lot of work to do on the north side to get more trees along those streets. I also wanted to talk a little bit about what we're doing beyond the cap. So the Climate Action Plan has all these really awesome goals in it to help us address greenhouse gas emissions. However, there's also a community aspect to climate action and participating in the community and getting engaged in local groups and wanting to address the climate catastrophe too. So this includes expanding and starting community programs, connecting with local organizations like Anca, supporting Redlands Earth Day, engaging staff in sustainable practices, and promoting environmental education and action. This is a really, really important piece of the Climate Action Plan for me because I really believe that knowledge is power, and I want everyone in Redlands to feel empowered to do something. As Julia said, we can make our climate crisis better for us. And we don't want anyone to be losing hope. We want people to feel that they can engage and do things to support their community. Also wanted to shout out, happening in October, the Repair Cafe. One thing you can do is repair your items instead of disposing them, help keep them out of the landfill and to prevent the need to buy new. On October 18th, we'll be having the next Anca Repair Cafe. Hopefully you guys have already all been to one. They're great events, and a lot of expert makers from our community come and help repair items. Anything you have, bikes, jewelry, small appliances, there's really some experts in our community that this highlights all of their skills. So what's next for the Climate Action Plan? Right now the city is developing an internal steering committee. This steering committee is made up of the Development Services Department, the Facilities and Community Services Department, the Municipal Utilities and Engineering Group, the GIS Group, the Geographical Information Systems, Human Resources, and the Public Information Office. This group is going to be instrumental in making sure that this plan is implemented using teamwork, making sure that all of our divisions of the city are working towards the same goals, and making sure that the climate is considered in all of the work that we do. You also should be expecting annual reports on the Climate Action Plan. So we're hoping to be very transparent about our goals, be very transparent about our progress, and have that information available and update it as regularly as we can. Also, I want you to keep your eyes out for public information campaigns. As I mentioned earlier, education is a really important aspect of the Climate Action Plan for me. And so we're hoping just to get knowledge out there, just making sure people know about drought-tolerant landscaping, reminders to turn the lights off when you leave a room. I know this group probably has that all down, but some people, those reminders are really helpful for. And so be on the lookout for some more community outreach. And also, like I mentioned earlier, leading by example and engaging our staff. Having human resources involved in our sustainability plan is really cool, that we're going to be making sure all of our staff are also educated and know about what's going on in the sustainability world of Redlands. And that's it. I'm looking forward to answering all your questions. On every table there was a flyer that gives a little bit more information about the Climate Action Plan. You can scan the QR code on the flyer and it will lead you to the full document. This is a great little infographic just highlighting the biggest pieces of the Climate Action Plan. And yeah, so please feel free to ask me any questions and review that, and thank you very much.
Okay, what do you think? Good? So we have questions now for either speaker. Yes, sir. Shout it, I'm sorry. Unless you want to come up here. Can I come up here and talk to you? Well, this is as long as I got it. There you go.
My name's John. I live over on Mills Avenue, and I know there's a trade-off between vegetation and water use. A number of people in our area have made that trade-off rather strikingly by not watering any of the parking areas, including the big trees which have been dying, and maybe allowing the front lawns to die completely and then just scraping it to bare dirt, removing that. And I wonder, is this subtracting or adding, what kind of trade-off is happening here, and is that allowed?
Who wants to take that one?
So as we just talked about, plants are really, really important for the environment. And so as long as the landscaping that's being talked about right now is considering the drought tolerant and is using less water than like a lawn, like a grass lawn would, I think it's really important to have those trees watered. Because trees also shade our homes, they shade our walkways, and by shading those areas, makes the need for cooling, lessens the need for cooling. So trees are really important to make sure, because there's a ton of environmental impacts that trees do every single day. And I think watering those trees would be probably the most environmentally preferable solution, but it always depends on what plants you're having. If you could choose some more water, drought tolerant plants, then that's always better. But yeah, I think we have to be team tree here.
I did want to know, is that allowed, that people simply not water the city trees on the parking area and just allow them?
Any trees that are on city property, like the easements in between sidewalks, those are maintained by the city. So residents should need to water those.
And parkway trees the city will put in, but the city expects you to water them. That is true, I think. Yeah. City and parkway trees are trees that the city expects you to water. Any other questions? Come on, we must have some. Yes.
Yes, this is about the organic waste recycling. And they took away some time ago the wet public ones that were out. There's one out there, I believe.
We can't hear over here.
Can you come up and speak?
Sure.
Thank you.
I was trying to really project, but I'm not very successful.
A lot of people there.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Louisa Amos, and I live in a rental apartment, and we don't have an organic waste box or whatever there. I used to use the public ones that were out various places. There was one actually that was over there in the parking lot, and they took those away. They also took away the one on Kansas down by the animal shelter, where the recycling is. They took away that food box. I don't know if this do anything.
So can we have our public boxes back?
This is Caitlin's baby.
Yeah, so I unfortunately was not involved in that decision that was made before I joined the city. However, I would recommend calling the waste services and getting one for your multifamily housing unit. That might involve talking to your property manager, talking to the property owner, whoever your connection is there, and they can call and you can request bins. Bins are you can request as many bins as you want. So depending on the size of your multifamily housing unit, you can request that many bins. Those were taken away because the city is implementing residential collection. So this is a huge deal, so this takes a lot of time. But those were taken away because of the introduction to have it all be done at the residential level and not to have anyone have to go and dispose of it in a special location. I will say that multifamily housing units and commercial buildings, their trash recycling is handled differently than single-family homes. And so I recommend calling or connecting with your, like I said, property manager or property owner to see if they can request service, because the rollout did start with residential and now it's slowly going through multifamily housing and commercial, because the multifamily housing and commercial are viewed differently when it comes to rates and service levels. So it's just on a different timeline for the rollout, but that's why they were taken away.
Can you comment on the recyclables, the mixed recyclables in multifamily? Will that be available for multifamily also? Because now we have residential being separate bin from mixed recyclables.
Yeah, so you should be getting a dumpster for recyclables, but if you don't have one, then your property owner or property manager needs to contact the city to request one.
Well, we do have one, but we have always had, well, long time, but I mean, it's done, I know you can't change it, but it seems to me would it better to have left those until the rails were brought into the fold.
Yeah, I understand, and I can bring that to, I've been working a lot with Mike Hines, the city recycling coordinator. We're having another talk in November all about recycling, and he started the same time I did in April. And so I'm sure that he's been eager to making sure all those I's are dotted and T's are crossed too.
In the back here. You have to come up, so everybody can hear you.
if you don't mind.
Okay.
We're all friends. We're all friends here.
My name is Lily. One of the questions that I had actually for, I think, more Julia is they're cutting a lot of orchards in Redlands and building on it. I assume that has something to do with the heat, more heat in the area. Are there any plans to stop these orchards? I was told by someone that the water used to be agricultural for those orchards, and now they turned it to residential, and it's too expensive to do it. So, I'm new to the area, you guys might know more, but I was wondering if there is any plans, anything that anybody can do to stop, destroying these orchards and building new homes for people that don't need it more.
Well, I do know that the city has planned, there's new orchards being planted sort of to preserve the historical and cultural ties we have, especially to citrus groves. It's interesting, there is sort of this trade-off between water and heat, right? And so citrus groves specifically do use a lot of water, and agricultural zoning gets some subsidies for that, but residents do not. And so if the zoning changed and the water becomes too expensive, then it needs to change purposes. I hope that with this plan and with increased street trees, we make up for some of that, but you're right that essentially anytime we're replacing any vegetation with paved surfaces, we are increasing the urban heat island effect. So the more folks can show up to city meetings and voice their thoughts on development projects, the better, right? So increasing density of housing is going to help a lot. We won't be spread out as much into these vegetative areas, but more residential plantings and more street trees will definitely help.
Yeah, I just want to echo Julia's comment on the importance of housing and dense housing impact. Dense housing is always going to be environmentally preferable than urban sprawl. And so their city does have whenever you cut down orchards, you do have to make sure that those environmental impacts are mitigated. And so, I just want to be a little bit in defense of housing here too, because creating affordable places for people to live is also really important. When people don't have to worry about super high bills, super hard living, but just costs of living, they have more time to dedicate to the environment. So I do think that there's a balance there that we need to hit of affordable housing and trees and all those green spaces that we also care about.
Okay, I'd like to just mention that there is an initiative right now underway to increase substantially the number of trees on the side. And Linda may give us more information about that. We'll have time for a couple more questions.
Hi, I'm Greg Thorson, the director of the Masters of Public Policy program at the University of Redlands. Read the cap and really loved it. I thought it was good, really strong. Talked with some other of my colleagues about it as well. But first, Julia, thanks for the great setup. It was a great way to start the year as an Anca member too, about the overview statistics, kind of what's happening as well. Just had a couple of comments for Caitlin and actually for the City Council as well. The few things that I've heard though that could could possibly be approved with one specific request. One would be our binding ordinances or performance standards, binding ordinances or performance standards needed to actually enforce it, because our last plan had trouble actually crossing the finish line. Second, the financing plan is a little light on specific costs with funding, whether what percentage of state federal grants, utility incentives, or local bonds. And the third one was, I thought was great, about the accountability structures. What's happening annually? And here, Caitlin, would love to have you think about, from my view on Anca, it'd be great to have a dashboard. If we could see a dashboard of what's happening, are we hitting, because the big picture in here, by the way, is right, net neutrality by 2045. Are we making that? Because all of this plan really does a good job of aligning us with the state standards and objectives. It's a big road though ahead of us, as Julia pointed out. But to have that dashboard really, and it might affect our programming here at Anca as well, because we could really help be your partners in focusing on the things where we're falling a little shorter than what we hoped.
I'll start with that last one. With all of the awesome GIS professionals that we have at the city and in Redlands in general, we are working with that internal steering committee to generate a dashboard. That's exactly what we want, real time. We do have the tools available to us at the city because of all these awesome measuring pros that we have on staff. And yeah, that's in the works. And then yeah, just to be updated as much as possible, annual updates at city council meetings, and also reaching out to me. My contact information was up there. My contact information can be found by scanning that QR code, and so please reach out to me if you have any questions. Regarding financial structures, to be honest, it's really hard to fund climate initiatives. As we all know, that some of these programs have been cut, and funding can be questionable. However, we are on grant patrol. The city has a grant coordinator. These are going to be dependent on what funding is available, but we are just constantly on the hunt for funding. I've been working with my supervisor to develop a strategic plan for budgeting sustainability in the future, and just seeing what creative ways we can get we can budget for to complete these measures. We've explored public-private partnerships. I think those are going to be great means of completing some of these goals. And I have also been communicating with other jurisdictions to see what collaboration is out there. I think that I'm confident in the resourcefulness and the solution-oriented mindset we have about funding. And then your other question, enforcing the climate action plan. Well, I hope I enforce it enough upon myself. Just the fact that I felt really supported at the city. Anca's been working with me so much. I think that there's a lot of confidence and excitement about sustainability. One of the comments that Councilmember Davis made at the Climate Action Plan hearing on July 1 was you can't, oh shoot, I just lost it. He made a comment about measuring our goals and how important that is, and so that's very prominent in all of our work, and just making sure we're measuring every goal and yeah, being able to provide those checkpoints when they come up.
Okay, let's give our speakers. Now it's your turn. And Linda's going to guide us through this. So take and talk.
Thank you, Dick. I just got to say before I start, I'm so delighted to see so many people in this room who really care about climate change and doing something that's going to make a difference. So thank you all for coming. And one of the important pieces of this series for the next 3 months is going to be giving us a chance to talk together and get some ideas out. Because we're all in this together. We've all got to contribute to solutions, right? And I was so grateful tonight for the way Julia really helped us understand how serious this problem is, right? And as she said, you probably all know that already, but it's good to be in a room with other people who know the same, right? Sometimes I feel very alone out there. I know, you know what I mean. Yeah, see, that's nodding. And then to have one great explanation of our climate plan. There's a lot of things that we can work with. So what we want to do now is just give you about 10 minutes to talk together at your tables about this question. What's one important thing we can do as residents and neighborhoods to help the Redlands Climate Action Plan succeed? And I think we all understand how important it is that it does succeed. We really need to get serious about this now, right? The time is here. So if you could just kind of start the conversation at your tables and begin to share some ideas about that question. How can we all contribute to this and make this a success? Okay? So we'll give you about 10 minutes. Make sure you share your name.
When they approve permits, they should do with me cognizance of this plan. I'm philosophically opposed to dense housing like that. It seems like you should offer a lot of mitigation. Where are people putting their cars and is that tree covered or not? Required solar panels for those parking areas. I look at the Google Earth images of our warehouse district. Solar panels on top, but now, well, I can see that there are many accounts, so I'm not defending the percentage. I see them, I would like to see them. What is the
Part of that is take away from what you took out.
I look at it,
our plans, but that's more of an action. I want to pass this guy down, but he's big. We're going to read that document.
The discussion in a different way. Developers should be asked.
Very briefly, something that we talked about. So if each table, and you can kind of quickly decide who's doing the spokesperson, what was one important thing? Just something that stood out to you from your table conversation in 1 or 2 sentences. Can we do that? Okay, who wants to start? Okay, go ahead. Sarah.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
Community gardening.
Community gardening.
Yeah.
More community gardening. So important.
Their own to consume and share.
And then share the produce. Beautiful, thank you.
Composting.
Okay, and more composting. All right, Kathy.
I want to say, our table came up with the idea that children will change the future. So let's have these programs in schools. We need, the children are going to go home and say, hey, we need to recycle. Hey, we need to water. The children will make the difference in the home. So we need children's programs in schools.
Beautiful, thank you. Who's next? Or I'm going to start calling it. Okay, back there. Ashley, so good to see you here.
I'm with California Environmental Voters, and I want to start bringing more residents to the senators' offices and the local Congress people and local assembly members so that they can hear more from residents, actually know what the community is concerned about in their areas. So if you're interested in joining me and going to the offices, let me know, because I'm over here.
Okay, making our officials know our concerns. That is so important, right? Okay, where else? Brian.
It's a 64-page document and making it more digestible. And so this summary is really good, but making sure that we can get this message out there because this QR code is very small, and if there is a way to publicize it a little bit further so more community members can be aware of it, would be very important.
Great, thank you. Let's see, where do we go? Over here, who's going to be next?
I think electric vehicles.
Okay. And what, more electric vehicles? Yeah, to really promote that. Yes. Next month, we're going to have somebody talking about electric vehicles at this program. Thank you. Okay, Betty.
We spoke about the importance for try to keep our open areas open and vegetated, meaning no more warehouses. And constantly using the city allowing their grant writer to help buy some of this private open land so we can maintain it and keep our sprawl from increasing our.
Thank you. It's so important for biodiversity. Okay, how about the table back there in the corner?
Well, we talked about a couple of things, but the CERT training and the MAP training.
Is it a little bit?
The certification, CERT training.
CERT training, yeah.
For your neighborhood and the MAP one, but also
That's your
neighborhood
neighborhood.
and going to city council meetings, letting them know, school board, all these things, people need to be present.
Yes.
If you're not there to see what they're doing,
That's right. That's right.
and they do what they want.
Yeah.
And there's a female mayor.
I missed that.
Female mayor.
Okay, over this table here.
Well, we did also talk about several things, but what we'd like to mention now is an emphasis on implementation of some really good programs we have. I hesitate to say enforcement because I don't want to sound draconian, but just the implementation of it. A specific
like some, I'm not sure how specific it's how some communities, business or apartments don't have any recycling bins at all.
I've heard that.
I mean, forget about the organic waste, which is important too. They don't have anything at all, or anything. And I understand, I don't know if there's a fine or something, again, not to be draconian, but I don't think they've even spoken to or asked about it.
Thank you. Caitlin, did you make a note of that? All right, how about this table right here? Yes.
My name's Jonathan. We talked about just making small steps with, things at home or in our neighborhoods or even if it's, discussing with family, does it have to be a 10-minute shower or can it be a, turn on and off water kind of shower where you use water smart, when you need to use it, not ongoing for that duration, or whether it's avoiding single use of plastic bottles, to drink water as opposed to just carrying things around, or even at our work areas, avoiding meetings that are just consuming water bottles everywhere. Would be ways to have office have water containers where we can just refill them with our own mugs and things like that. For another business.
Great, thank you. And last but not least, over here.
My name is Stephanie Centeno. We talked a little bit about just how the recycling bins can be a bit confusing, so finding ways to make it so that you consume less mental calories and trying to figure out why whatever your trash is, finding a way to just make it easier to understand.
Thank you. Well, what a wonderful group of ideas in such a short time. Thank you, everybody. It shows the power of the people, right? That's what we need right now. All right, so I want to go on here. I have a challenge for you on top of all those ideas I just. Here's an action challenge. I'm going to try to give you one of these every month. This one is to talk to 3 friends about the climate action plan and the strategy that you are most excited about, okay? How many can think they could do that maybe? Oh, wonderful, okay. Now let's really, really do that. Thank you. All right. And now you'll bear with me for a few more minutes. I want to just go through what's coming up. We're hinting at this. Next month, 3rd Wednesday always, we're going to hit transportation because as Caitlin showed us, that is the biggest contributor to carbon emissions. So we're going to try to have quite a few different people here talking about different possibilities for more carbon-free transportation. So I won't take time to go through all those right now, but it will be interesting, I promise. So hopefully you'll put that on your calendar. And then I have to put a plug in for Map Your Neighborhood. I think there's quite a few people here now who have done their neighborhood. Could you raise your hand really high if you've had Map Your Neighborhood in your neighborhood? All right, I think we have a couple people leave who did. That's wonderful. So this is a program that is aimed at disaster preparedness at the neighborhood level so that you are prepared to be your own first responders in the event of a major disaster, which we can totally expect in the future. So you can't wait till the day after. That's usually when people say, oh, if only, you need to start preparing ahead. So Anna is our coordinator over there. Raise your hand. Her husband's next to her there. And there's 3 things that you can check out. We can be in here until 8:30. There's cookies later. First of all, you can sign up to host your neighborhood and have 15 to 20 of your neighbors in your living room. And we present the program. We provide the materials. It's so easy to do, and it's really important for your neighborhood. Second thing is, Anna, hold it up. We have safety gear bags. One of the things we talk about in our Map Your Neighborhood program is that everybody needs to have a hard hat, gloves, a whistle, a bunch of things under your bed so that if a disaster strikes in the middle of the night, you know where to find your stuff. So we're selling them. Pardon me? Well, the kids' bed risers or something. Anyway, you get the message there. We actually have some for sale. They're $35.
Might have some at Home Depot.
And then the third thing is you can sign up over there for the Redlands emergency notification system, which we're really encouraging everybody to do. That's so important. Yes.
Mr. Testman.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, all right, that's true. Yay. We thought we'd make it convenient for people, because we know how we all tend to kind of procrastinate, right? Okay, moving on. Repair Cafe. How many of you have to Repair Cafe? Oh, wow, okay. Another one's coming up October 18th. And it's going to be here.
Right in this room.
In this room, that's right. Yeah, right in this room. Yes. So if you have anything broken and want to come and join the Repair Cafe community that day, come from 9 till 12. Bring your stuff and get acquainted with other people who have the same goals. And then also a pitch for the Anca Book Club. This is a small group that meets on Zoom. They read awesome books. And this one is urged by Bill McKibben. How many here know who Bill McKibben is? Okay, some of you do. He's quite a leading person in the climate world. And he wrote this book a while back, but man, is it still relevant. So if you'd like to be part of that, just read that book, get that book. And they're meeting on, Thursday, September 25th on Zoom. Okay? We'd love to have more people involved in that. And finally, or not finally, I want to say we're volunteer opportunities. We need volunteers, guys. One of our biggest needs is, well, the first one is marketing, somebody who knows marketing and social media and all that. We have a urgent need for that kind of help. I think the most important thing is becoming, being a host for your neighborhood, or being a presenter. If you're somebody who's comfortable sitting around in the living room, talking to people about the importance of disaster preparedness. And there's a script and everything. It's really so easy, and it's fun, and it's very rewarding. So that's something that everybody could do. And then you can join the Repair Cafe team if you're interested in that. Or help plan Earth Day. We kind of kicked off the whole big Earth Day of climate action. We need a lot of people to help with that. And then finally, I think I have a typo there, but the last one is about this program, this educational program called Resilient Living, Facing Climate Challenges Together. We need more people to help plan this. So think about some of those things. Now is the time to get involved, not 10 years from now, right now. And that's the last one. Thank you, Kathy. I should let you do this.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So we need your support, guys. We have been shy about asking for money, but it's getting dire. Our programs are growing so fast. They are being well received. And so we really need to increase the amount of money we're bringing in. So we have some sponsorship opportunities. Businesses or even individuals can sponsor this event for one night for $250. Or you can sponsor one neighborhood, Map Your Neighborhood Again, for $260. Or you can help grow the Map Your Neighborhood program by being a major sponsor, like Ferguson. Kathy here is a Ferguson. And they are a major sponsor for Map Your Neighborhood. And believe me, that has been so helpful this year. Monthly donations, because we don't get grants. There's no money out there for climate change right now. So there's a handful of you who give us a monthly donation. That is so appreciated because we can count on that every month. We have X number of dollars coming in. So even $10 a month is a lot. But think about the cost of things today. What is $10 a cup of coffee? Yeah, okay. Last thing, you have some half sheets on your table, and on one side is with the logo. We would like your feedback on this program, because we always strive to make these better and to address the issues that you care about. So there's one important question there. It's what is another topic that you'd like to hear about? So we'd love it if you just take a minute to fill that out. And Mylan will be standing at the door, and he won't let you out unless you give him that. And on the back, if anybody is motivated to volunteer, please fill out the back as well. And we'll give you 2 minutes to do that. And then, as soon as you're done, As I said, there are cookies, and we have a lot of people here from Anca, people who don't have your neighborhood, if they want to talk, or just talk more about what you heard tonight, we'd love to see that. But we do have to be out of the room by 8:30. So I think I've covered everything. Anything, any final comments anybody has before we close this off? Yes, Sarah.
Wanted to ask the speakers if there's any plan for using, like a cool.
Can you start over, Sarah? I didn't quite hear that.
I wanted to ask the speakers if there's any plan for using like a cool pavement technology that's being experimented with. Because walking across an asphalt parking lot, there's so much radiant heat.
You can
Is there
feel
any
it.
way to reduce that?
Yes, that's something that I've already jumped on. We attended the Reflect Effect, which is a group of tons of people. We all got together to learn more about cool surfaces, and also the city of Redlands does have a warehouse ordinance that requires cool roofs.
Thank you. All right. Thank you again, everyone, for coming. Come back, please. Let's keep this going. This is our great.